Have you ever heard of a killer who didn't run away, but stayed on the crime scene? Picture someone brutally murdering an entire family, then calmly proceeds to raid their refrigerator, use their personal computer, and even sleep the night in their bed. This horrifying scenario is not some piece of dark fiction, but something disturbingly real that unfolded on the outskirts of a quiet Tokyo neighborhood in the final hours of the year 2000. On a cold New Year's Eve, 4 members of the Miyazawa family were tragically murdered in their own home, and the perpetrator remained inside for many hours, acting as if they were a resident. This unseen intruder ate their food, tended to their own injuries using the family's supplies, and even briefly logged onto their home computer system before vanishing. How can an individual leave behind an abundance of traceable evidence, yet completely evade capture for all these years? Mikio and Yasuko Miyazawa were raising their 2 young children, Nina and Riai, in Setagaya, a western district of Tokyo known for its peaceful atmosphere. Their backyard property was separated from a large public park by only a simple fence and the exterior wall of their second-floor bathroom. Sometime late on the 30th of December 2000, someone managed to scale that barrier, slip through the slightly opened window, and commit an unthinkable act of destruction between 11:30 and midnight. The parents, Mikio and Yasuko, along with their daughter Nina, suffered multiple stab wounds during the brutal encounter. Tragically, their youngest son, 6-year-old Ri, was found to have been strangled to death later in the ordeal. By the following morning, Yasuko's mother discovered the scene, a chaotic tableau that immediately signaled something horrifically wrong. Outside the structure, investigators located distinct footprints pressed into the damp earth below the point of entry. Upon entering, detectives noted that the window screen had been crudely ripped open, suggesting a hurried or forceful initial breach. Inside the home, the level of disarray was immense, with drawers pulled out, papers scattered everywhere, and blood staining the hallway carpets. However, the following actions taken by the perpetrator sharply deviated from the expected flight of a typical home invader. Instead of fleeing immediately after the attack, this individual made himself comfortable and essentially began living in the immediate aftermath. Evidence confirms he consumed 4 separate portions of ice cream and a carton of barley tea while inside the premises. He then located the family's medical supplies and carefully dressed the various cuts and scrapes he had sustained during the break-in. Alarmingly, at approximately 1:13 in the morning, the intruder took time to sit down and use the family's personal desktop computer. Investigators can pinpoint the exact minute he clicked the mouse, yet the underlying reason for this bizarre digital activity remains a profound mystery. Forensic timeline reconstruction strongly suggests the killer remained physically present in the house for many more hours, perhaps not leaving until dawn. He was comfortable enough to lie down and sleep on the living room sofa, leaving behind biological traces on the furniture where he rested. Every single piece of physical evidence, every drop of blood, every fingerprint, every movement should have been enough to unmask his identity. Yet, even after 2 full decades, the identity of the person responsible for this horror remains entirely theoretical. Based on the comprehensive evidence collected, investigators have managed to build a scientific profile of the unknown male subject. We know he was male, possessed type of blood, and was predominantly right-handed in his movements. His estimated height was approximately 5'6", suggesting an average stature for a man of that region. Furthermore, a slim waist measurement, inferred from the belt he wore, was estimated to be between 70 and 75 centimeters. His shoe size was determined to be a size 10, a specific detail that provided an initial geographical clue. The Y chromosome DNA analysis pointed toward the OM122 haplogroup, a genetic marker common throughout East Asia. Autosomal markers hinted at a complex ancestry, possibly an East Asian paternal line, mixed with distant European maternal heritage in his background. This means science can accurately place him on the broad map of human genetics, but it fails completely at placing him in the specific neighborhood where the crime occurred. The killer didn't just abandon his genetic material, he inadvertently left behind a significant portion of his personal clothing and accessories. Among the items were a large AirTech-style jacket, a pair of branded gloves, and a hat. He also left 2 generic folded handkerchiefs, suggesting careful habits despite the violence. A specific hip bag manufactured in Osaka was traced to a limited production run of only 2,800 identical units worldwide. Inside this bag, traces of a distinct cologne, specifically Drakkar Noir, were identified by the forensic team. The Schlesinger shoes, size 27.5, and were a size that was officially never sold in the Japanese domestic market. This collection of evidence should have been a dream scenario for investigators, yet absolutely none of it matched any existing record in the Japanese criminal databases. The entire perplexing situation took an even stranger turn when a handful of sand was discovered within the killer's discarded bag. Forensic analysis of this unusual material suggested a peculiar mixture of local particles, likely from a nearby public skate park. Intriguingly, Other grains were definitively matched to the arid environment of the Mojave Desert in California, near a major Air Force base. Speculation immediately ran wild online, proposing he was a recent traveler, perhaps connected to the military base or an international visitor. The police department has consistently refused to comment on the significance of this sand, neither confirming nor denying its importance as a lead. Now, more than 20 years later, the Setagaya case stands as Japan's single largest and most frustrating unsolved homicide investigation. Countless officers have worked the file, thousands of interviews have been conducted, yet not a single concrete suspect has emerged from the massive effort. A substantial financial reward, 20 million yen, remains posted as an incentive for anyone who can finally provide a path to closure. The multitude of theories circulating range from a local transient connected to the park to a foreign visitor with undisclosed ties, or simply a singular, isolated psychopath. While each possibility accounts for certain pieces of evidence, none of them satisfactorily explain the entire, bizarre timeline of the intruder's behavior. Every compelling theory inevitably crashes against the same inexplicable fact: the killer never rushed out. He simply stayed. Most violent offenders are driven by panic, acting impulsively in the heat of the moment. In stark contrast, this individual acted with a chilling sense of boredom, moving through the house with absolute calm. He navigated the destroyed home as if he were merely a long-term tenant, inspecting his property after an inconvenience. He paused to use their thing, he treated his own wounds in their bathroom, and he likely rested within the very walls that contained his victims. Every trace of his physical presence, the DNA, the prints, the scent, the blood has been meticulously cataloged by science. And yet, it is entirely plausible that he walked back into Setagaya Park before sunrise, stepping over the same mud he came in on, and simply disappeared into the waking city. The Miyazawa family home, a place of such tragedy, still stands in its location today, a silent monument to the event. The park adjacent to it continues to be filled with the sounds of children's laughter, carrying on despite the dark history it borders. And the official case file concerning these murders remains wide open, untouched by resolution, now for over 2 decades. He left behind fingerprints, his blood, his clothes, and even his unique DNA signature, but he never surrendered his actual name. So the ultimate chilling question is not just who committed this horrific act. It is also how someone can leave behind so many evidences, yet completely disappear. Have you ever heard of a killer who didn't